Hello everybody and welcome to today's lesson. We continue focusing on grammar, and today in particular we speak about time clauses and conditionals. Conditionals are a very important area of English, and they are really difficult to learn because the theory and the grammar is very heavy when you learn the conditionals. But today we just look at a little, not everything, just a little information about conditionals today, specifically in relation to using the words when, after, until, if, unless, and even if. So this is the next step in the curriculum of the British Council Grammar website, and that is the intention for today, to show you a little more explanation in relation to the grammar process that we are doing every morning. We have a grammar lesson, and this is the next topic in the curriculum. So we are nearly finished, but this is an interesting topic, and I hope that you will enjoy the topic today. I am starting a little early, so normally it's 8:45, but today I'm starting at 8 o'clock because it's the summer and the weather is better, so I want more time in the afternoon to enjoy the weather. Subtitles: if you want to understand me better, select the subtitles option, and this will give you the words that I am using during this lesson, and this will help you follow me in this lesson better. Okay, so maybe you might have questions during this lesson, so please leave a question, leave a comment, say hello in the Facebook chat, and this is a good opportunity to interact and also to ask me a question if you wish. So please put a comment in the Facebook chat and I can respond to your comment during the day and after this lesson. Social media and contact on social media: you can find me on Instagram, TikTok, YouTube, Pinterest, and WhatsApp. All the information is here, and you're very welcome to follow and join me on the social media platforms here. Okay, my timetable and my schedule is very similar compared to last week. So let me find my timetable specifically. This is my schedule. Now the time has changed a little today because of the summer, because as I can see out the window, it's blue sky and it's very good. So I'm starting a little earlier, and sorry, I apologize to people for the little inconvenience and the change, but I hope that you can adapt and find my lessons online when you can. Later, we move to A Través de Español. This is one of my favorite lessons per week because I have the opportunity to speak in Spanish completely. And obviously, my Spanish is a little funny and ridiculous, but it's a good way to try and teach you English, especially people who have a low level of English and who speak Spanish. And then later today, I move to Irish accents and vocabulary. Every week, I do a lesson dedicated to understanding the Irish accent and vocabulary. And today we continue with the television series from Ireland, and we look at the vocabulary and the accents here. Okay, and that's more or less everything for today. This project is free and it's public. I started this project at the beginning of the pandemic, well, in the middle of the pandemic, and I have continued doing this project and giving lessons for free online on Facebook. You can see all my lessons on my video section, so I have a lot of content, and it's a good idea. I think it's a good project and it's very interesting and accessible for a lot of people. But if you want to support me, if you want to make a tip, a donation, or a contribution, you can support me with my bank details here. If you want to make a tip, or alternatively, if you want to make a subscription, you can make a subscription by PayPal, and that's very easy to do as well. All the information is on my Facebook post and Facebook page. Okay, let's continue. Again, for businesses and for companies, if you are a business and you want to support me, if you want to sponsor my project, I can put information here about your business, and you can support my project in this way, and I can promote your business here. This is just an idea for the price, but it's very flexible as well, and I have different ideas for sponsoring as well. Okay, so that's a possibility if you wish. Okay, let's begin. So, as you know, studying grammar is very heavy, it's very difficult, and it requires a lot of time, it requires a lot of energy, and it requires a lot of concentration, always. And this is exactly the same. We have a lot of theory here, and it's very important to read the grammar first to learn English. Okay, so there are lots of places you can find grammar information. This is one of my favorites. It's the British Council website, and specifically it's the Learn English section of the British Council website, and it's superb, very clear, very simple to understand in relation to the grammar explanations, and I highly recommend this page. The second page is maybe the Cambridge Grammar Dictionary, and the Cambridge Grammar website is superb as well. So they are the two very strong locations and sources to read grammar. But you probably have a book. It's possible to have a textbook as well, and textbooks are very important to continue reading grammar. So basically, you need to study grammar regularly, you need to study grammar often, and you need to be patient, and you need time to read the text. Okay, so it's very important. And today, it's exactly the same. I recommend you read this first and then watch my lesson, watch my video, because my idea is to give you a little assistance and a little help and a little support. But really, you must do the work as well. Okay. Verbs in a time clause. So what is a time clause? I'm not sure exactly. I think it's obviously a clause, which is a type of a sentence, usually subject, verb, object. That's a clause related to a specific time. And an if clause is more related to the conditional, when we speak about things that are dependent on other things. So this is difficult. The conditional is very difficult, in my opinion, to understand, but it's important to read. But in reality, in spoken English, I don't think it's super strict sometimes, especially for communication. People understand you most of the time, but the rules are worth reading and worth learning a little. Okay, learn about verbs in time clauses and conditionals, and also do exercises to practice using them. So in this page we have exercises to do as well. Level beginner. Okay, verbs in time clauses and conditionals usually follow same patterns like as in other clauses. Okay, so specifically the verbs have the same, because we focus on the verbs in this section. So basically, verbs in time clauses and conditionals usually have the same pattern, the same routine, the same rules as other clauses. But there are some differences, there are some exceptions when we talk about the future. So there's an exception for the verb when we speak about the future, and also when we make hypotheses. Okay, so the rules change a little in relation to the verbs. For example, talking about the future. In time clauses, with words like when, after, until, we often use the present tense forms to talk about the future. So when we use when, after, until, it's frequent, it's good, it's typical to use the present tense to speak about the future. So this is complicated, and especially in the morning, it's difficult, but you must try to contemplate this. Okay, so next. I will come home. This is the subject. I will come is the future. Yes. However, the verb the form will is considered a modal, but really the verb is come. So will come is in the future, but really it's a modal. That's complicated, but that's the fact. So I will come home. When is the time clause. It's the word for the time, when. And here we have the present. I finish work. So I will come home when I finish work. This is the future. It's the present tense, but we are expressing the future. And that's very difficult. And that's very intermediate or advanced. But that's the rule. So I will come home when I finish work. That's very fluent. But in conversation, in spoken English, it's possible to hear people say, when I will finish work. So in the street and everyday English, it is possible to hear people say, I will come home when I will finish work. And it's not dramatic. In terms of communication, it's great. But grammatically, this is a better rule and a better way to learn and to remember. It's a good habit. Okay, so we continue with the next sentence. You must wait here until your father comes. You is the subject. Must is the modal verb. Wait is the verb. So you must wait. You have an obligation. You need to wait here. Until. So until is a time word. Your father comes. So your father is the subject and the verb is to come. And the third person has the S. For example, I come, you come, he comes with the S. So because it's the third person, we use the S. And that's the sentence. You must wait. You have the obligation to wait here until your father comes. This is the present, but we are expressing the future. We are talking about the future in this particular part because we have the word until and when. So you must wait here until your father comes. That is speaking about the future. And that's difficult. It is difficult. But the key word, I think, is until and when. This represents the time clause, the introduction of the time clause, I think. Okay, next example. They are coming, that's the subject. Are coming is the present continuous. They are coming after they have had dinner. So this changes a little. The subject is they, and the verb is the present perfect. Remember the present perfect, the formula for the present perfect is the auxiliary verb have plus the past participle of the verb. And in this case, the past participle is had and the auxiliary is have. So they are coming after they have had dinner. Again, this is the present perfect, but we are speaking about the future. We are expressing the future. This is possible because of this word after, which introduces the time clause. Okay, and that's the basic explanation. That's an interesting situation and 3 interesting examples. Okay, good. So let's continue. So they are time clauses. So now I understand better. A time clause is basically the clause, subject, verb, object, which has a time word, when, after, until. That's basically what I think a time clause is. Next, in conditional clauses with words like if, unless, even if, these are the signal words to represent the conditional. When you see these words, it's very possible the clause or the sentence is in the conditional. And the conditional, what is the conditional? Well, the conditional basically is one clause or one thing that is dependent on another thing, typically when we speak about hypothetical situations. So we will see a couple of examples here. In conditional clauses with words like if, unless, even if, we frequently, regularly, often use the present tense forms again to talk about the future. This is the same as the time clause above. We use the present tense to speak about the future when we have words such as when, after, until, but also in conditional, when we have words like if, unless, even if, this is also possible to use the present tense to speak about the future. So I hope you are confused, because I think everybody is confused a little, but that is the grammar explanation, and it is important to spend time to try and read this and understand it. But every day in reality, it's a bit more flexible and less strict and less stressful, I think. Okay, because you can communicate very easily, I think, instead of using all these strict rules. Okay, forget I said that a little. Next example. We will not be able. So this is will not. We will not be able to go out if. So here we have the key word if, which usually introduces the conditional clause. And the conditional clause is subject, verb, object that begins with the word if. So we won't be able to go out tomorrow, future, if it is raining in the present. Okay, and this probably is the noun form, raining. It's possibly the present continuous, but it's also possibly the present simple with the activity and the noun raining. So we won't be able to go out if it is raining. That is the present, but we are speaking about the future because we have the conditional if. Understood? I'm not sure. Okay, let's continue. I will come tomorrow. Again, this is the future. I will come tomorrow unless, this is the key conditional signal, I have to look, oh, sorry, I pressed the button by mistake. I will come tomorrow unless I have to look after the children. So this again is the present. Have to is an obligation, must. Look after is the modal verb, take care of, and the children is the plural irregular. So I will come tomorrow unless I have to look after the children. This word unless means that it's possible I cannot come because I need to take care of the children. So that's an interesting sentence, and that word is the key word. If and unless signals the introduction of the conditional. And the conditional in this case is in the present, but we are the present tense, but we are speaking about the future, and that's the lesson. Okay, next. Even if Barcelona lose tomorrow, they will still be champions. So even if, very interesting, and again it signals the introduction of the conditional. Even if Barcelona lose, very important, because the verb is to lose, the past is lost, and the substantive is a loss. So let me show you this family because it's very important. The verb is to lose, the past is lost, and the noun is a loss. So it's a really interesting family of words because of the verb, the past, and the noun. So even if Barcelona lose tomorrow, they will still be champions. So the second clause is the future. Will be, that's clear. Still is continuing. So the second clause is the future simple. But in this sentence, we change the conditional clause to the first part. So this first clause is the conditional clause. And this is different because in this case, the conditional clause is at the beginning. But the other examples, the conditional clause is in the second position. And lose is the present. So even if they lose tomorrow, It's confusing because tomorrow is obviously the future, but we use the verbal tense in the present to talk about the future because it's a conditional and because we have the words even if. And that's the lesson today. Okay, next. We do not normally use will in the time clause and conditional clauses. So remember, here is the conditional clause, and it's very unusual to use will. This one is the conditional clause, and it's very unusual. We do not normally use will in this clause. The same with this one, if it is raining. So we must identify the conditional clause always and the time clause. So in the previous examples, the time clause when I finish. I explained to you earlier, it is possible when I will finish, and that's because it's in spoken English and in conversational communication. To communicate in English, it's fine, but grammatically it's incorrect. It's not normal grammatically to use will in the time clause. This is a time clause. When I finish, until your father comes, etc. So here is the examples. I will come home. This is the first clause in the future. I will come home. The the time clause, when I finish work. Because it's the time clause, we use the present simple to speak about the future. So it's not normal, it's not typical to use will in this time clause. So therefore, when I finish work is the present tense and not when I will finish work. But I told you, in reality, on the street, in everyday English, you can hear this and people understand you perfectly. But grammatically, it's better in the present. Okay, let's continue. Next example. We will not be able to go out if it rains. So the first clause, the first part of the full sentence, so there's two parts, the first clause and the second clause. The first clause is the future in the negative. We will not be able to go out. The conditional clause, if. Because it's the conditional clause if, we generally use the present, especially when we speak about the future. So therefore, if it rains is the correct structure and not if it will rain. But people understand you, no problem. No problem. So this is not strict in spoken English every day. And that's my job, to tell you when the rule is very strict and to tell you when it's not super strict. And this is not super strict in conversation because it's possible to hear this frequently and it's not recognized as a massive error, only by maybe academic teachers or English teachers. And sometimes grammar is intimidating because you think the rules are very strict most of the time. But as I said, in conversation and spoken English every day, don't worry too much because your principal job is to communicate and tell your message. Next. It will be nice to see Peter when he gets home. So the first clause, it will be nice to see Peter. That's the first part. It's the clause, and this is the future. The time clause, when he gets home. Okay, and this is in the present. The time clause is in the present, but we are speaking, sorry, the present tense, but we are speaking about the future. And it's not normal to use will in this sentence. It's a bit, grammatically, it's not correct, but in communication, it's clear. It's very clear if you use this. And then finally, you must wait here until your father comes home, or till your father comes. So this is a conditional clause because of the word until, and the first one is the first clause. But the conditional clause is in the present tense because we are expressing the future, and it's unusual to use will in that situation. But there is a but. We can use will if it means want to or be willing to. So willing is a key word. Willing means content, happy to do something. Are you willing to work tomorrow? Are you happy to work tomorrow? Are you content to work tomorrow? Are you willing? Okay, are you happy to do it? Are you content to do it? Are you willing to do it? And it is possible to use will if it represents want to or be willing to. For example, I will be very happy. This is the first clause and it's the future. I will be very happy in the future. If clause, conditional clause, if you come to my party. Normal, if you come to my party, typically it's the present tense to speak about the future, but it is possible to use will if you're expressing want to or willing to, happy and content to do something. So I will be very happy if you want to come to my party. If you are willing, if you are content to come to my party. That's very advanced and it's a little detail and probably very fluent as well. So that's an interesting comment. Next, we should finish the job early if George will help us. We is the subject, should is the modal, recommendation or suggestion, finish is the next verb, the job early. If conditional clause, George helps us. Normally it's the present to express the future, but it is possible to use will if he is willing, content, motivated, happy to help, or wants to help, and therefore this represents that. So that's very advanced. And again, maybe take time to contemplate that a little. But for native English speakers, it's more, this is very natural and more instinctive. Okay. And I think most native English speakers have no idea of this rule unless they are a teacher, which is difficult because you are trying to learn English. Okay. So again, if you have a question, if you have a comment, please put your question in the Facebook chat. Please leave a message in the Facebook chat. Please say hello. And thank you for watching in different parts of wherever you are online. And let's continue with the exercises. So now I have explained a lot of the theory. Now it's the moment to practice the exercise, and this might be difficult. Okay, choose the correct expression to complete each sentence. What is the correct expression in this sentence? For example, I am very busy next week. This is the subject, the verb, adjective, next week. I'm very busy next week. I cannot come to the meeting. That's the first clause. I cannot, I'm not able, I have no ability to come to the meeting. Unless is the conditional clause, and unless is typical. The verb is in the present tense to express the future normally, except when you want to express willing and want. So there's no willing and there's no want here. So I think the rule, first rule, continues the present tense to express the future. Unless it will be or it is on Friday. So this is a good example. It's the conditional clause and we are using the present tense, but we are expressing the future. And that is a good example. Okay, so I cannot come to the meeting unless it is on Friday. In English every day spoken, the second example, the second option is possible, and nobody really notices a difference. So it is possible. I can't come to the meeting unless it will be on Friday, and that's very, very normal. I know native English speakers who will use this, so don't worry too much about this. Okay, let's continue. We have a lot of exercises here, 11. So we need to do these. Okay, I promise to call you as soon as we land or will land. So I promise is the present. To call you is the infinitive. As soon as, this is a time clause, I think. So we have a lot of time clauses: when, until, but we have not seen this particular time clause, but I think this represents a time clause, and therefore it's the same rule, and the verb is to land. When we land, that's correct. So you are speaking about the future, but you're using the present tense, and this is possible in the time clause in English. Okay, next. I something, you what happened, as long as you keep it a secret. So here it's tell. I tell you what happened as long as you keep it a secret. It's understandable, but I think in this sense you are willing and you want to tell, maybe. So for me, this expresses more your desire to tell. So the clause is the first clause, and as long as you keep it a secret, I think is the time clause. So therefore, yes, so the second clause is the time clause, and this represents the present tense, but we are speaking about the future. Therefore, the first clause is possible in the future. I will tell you. That's important. So this is the first principal ordinary clause, and the next clause is the time clause. The time clause is in the present simple, but we are speaking about the future, and therefore we need the first clause in the future. Number 4. If. This usually indicates the conditional clause, and here is the conditional part. If I something a job soon, I will go traveling for a while. So the second clause is the basic and the main clause, future. I will go traveling for a while. If I will not find, future. But if I do not find, in the present. So this is correct because it's using the present tense to speak about the future in the if conditional clause. Next. I am certain, I am sure Donal will not continue working here. That is the first clause, and that's the future. The conditional clause, even if, this is the key words, even if we him more money. So the first clause is in the future negative, and the second clause is the conditional clause, and we are speaking about the future but using the present tense, and therefore we need to use the present tense even if we offer him more money. Next. Sorry, I don't think your keys are here. If I find them. Okay, so the first part is not conditional. The second sentence, we have two clauses. If I find them and I let you know. So the second clause is the principal clause and the main clause, but the first clause is the conditional clause, and we are speaking about the future. In the second clause, therefore, the conditional clause needs to be in the present tense to express the future, and that's correct. Therefore, the first clause, the main clause, needs to be in the ordinary future. I will let you know. You understand? More or less? Okay, let's continue, I hope. When is a typical word we use to indicate the time clause. And you remember the rules for the time clause and the conditional clause. So when you something, Silvana, can you tell her to phone me? So the second clause is a question, and it's the modal verb, can you tell her to call me? And that second clause is the present. Therefore, anyway, I think the rule applies when clause, the time clause, we use the present also to speak about the present or the future. And I think that's correct. When you see Silvana, can you tell her to phone me? In conversation, there's no problem between the two. It's possible to say the second example in conversation as well. Let's continue. If. This typically represents the conditional clause, and the second clause, I'm going to take a long holiday. And that's probably the future. I am going to take a long holiday. And the verb is to sell my house. conditional clause. If I, normally the conditional clause, we use the present tense to express the future. So this is the situation. I think we're using if, and it's the conditional clause. Therefore, we need to use the present tense to speak about the future. So if I manage to sell my house, I am going to, in the future, take my holidays. And manage has the significance to achieve, Okay, let's continue. You should read the contract carefully before you sign it or before you will sign it. So we have two clauses. The first clause is you should read the contract carefully. Subject, verb, object, adverb. So this is the modal, suggestion, recommendation. And the second clause is the time clause. And when we use the time clause, it's possible to use the present tense to express the future, and I think this is the case as well. You sign it. So I think the rules are the same in all the parts here. So all the questions are very similar, I think. Okay, next, let's continue. 3 more. We, something for some lunch when we get to the next petrol station. The key word is when. This introduces the time clause, and in the time clause we use the present simple to express the future. Therefore, the first clause is generally in the ordinary future. When we will stop for some lunch when we get to the next petrol station, and for me that looks good and that seems to be perfect. The first example here is a little peculiar and a little strange to use. Okay, 2 more. You are not going out until you finish your homework or will finish. So the key word is until. That is the indication of the time phrase, time clause. That's the second clause, it's the time clause. Therefore, the first clause is in the future, in the negative, and that is the first clause. But the second clause is the time clause. And the rule, again, to remember, the time clause is typically in the present tense to express the future. So you are not going out in the future until you finish your homework in the present tense, but expressing the future. And last one, I promise I take the dog for a walk after I have had my dinner. So after is the time, introducing the time clause, and the subject is I. Have had is the present perfect, my dinner. So the time clause, the verbal tense is in the present perfect, but we are expressing the future. Therefore, the first principal clause is normally in the ordinary future. So I promise I will take the dog for a walk after I've had my dinner. I'm happy with most of the answers. I think most of them are okay. It's possible I have a mistake. Let's check the answers. And that's 12 from 12. Okay, very good. So that's good practice. Next, exercise 2 is just repetition. Really, it's just revision of the same content, really. So it's not necessary for the moment. You can try that later if you wish. Okay, next we move to level intermediate, and specifically making hypotheses. This is the topic for the intermediate level, and maybe it's an opportunity for a little break, a little drink of water. If you have a question, please put your question in the Facebook chat. Please leave a comment and I can answer your comment when I finish the lesson as well. Okay, so I hope you're enjoying the lesson and I hope that you can understand me. And it's a difficult topic. Always the conditionals are difficult, and grammar I think always is difficult, but it's important as well to read the rules, I think, in general. Okay, let's continue to the intermediate level and specifically making hypotheses. So I think most people understand what is a hypothesis. It's like an imaginary situation in a way. So let's see. Some Conditional clauses, remember, if, when, if, even if. So we have conditional clauses, we have seen. They are like hypothesis, so we use the past tense. Okay? So we use the past tense forms to talk about something that does not happen. So hypothetical is something that does not happen or is not happening in the present. Okay, and when we want to express hypothetical, we can use the past tense in the conditional clause. So previously, the conditional clause, we use the present tense form to express the future, but in this situation, we use the past tense to express a hypothetical. Complicated. And that's normal because we progress. For example, he could get a new job is the first clause. If is introducing the conditional clause, and could is for ability, possibility, hypothetically. He could obtain or get a new job, hypothetically, if he tried. So that's the past tense, the past simple. Try, tried. So this is the conditional, but we are using the past tense in the conditional clause because we are expressing a hypothesis. And the translation or the explanation is he cannot get a job because he has not tried. Okay, next we have the conditional clause. If Jack was playing plus the principal clause, they would probably win. So again, two clauses. The second clause is the hypothetical. So they would probably win hypothetically if Jack, past tense, was playing. And that's the rule for hypothetical situations. Okay, and that's important for the conditional. So the translation basically is Jack is not playing in the present, therefore they will probably not win in the future, in 20 minutes or 40 minutes after the match. Next, if I had his address, I could write to him. If is introducing the conditional clause. If I had his address, and the second principal clause, I could write to him. Hypothetically, in theory, I could write to him if I had his address. So the conditional clause is in the past tense because it's a hypothetical situation, and that's the rule. Okay, so if I had his address, I could write to him hypothetically. So therefore, I do not have his address, therefore I cannot write to him. Okay, next, we use past tense forms to talk about something that we believe or know will not happen in the future. So this is an extra lesson, an extra comment. So we use the past tense forms in the clauses, I think, to talk about something that we believe or know will not happen in the future. For example, we would go by train hypothetically. We would go by train if it wasn't so expensive. And again, this is the past simple. It's the conditional clause because it's a hypothetical and it will not happen. We believe it will not happen. Very similar to a hypothetical because this is the first definition. We believe it will not happen. The previous definition is does not happen. So this one's more factual, but the next one is more believe. So there's a little difference, but still it's hypothetical. So we would go by train hypothetically if it wasn't so expensive, but this will not happen. We believe this will not happen. So we will not go by train because it is too expensive is an alternative way to express this. Next, I would look after the children hypothetically. In theory, I would look after the children for you at the weekend if I was at home. So I believe this will not happen because I am not at home, and therefore the conditional clause is in the past simple as well. So I cannot look after the children. Basically, I believe it's not going to happen. Okay, next lesson. We use the past tense to make suggestions about what might happen in the future. So this is hypothetical, and it might happen. It may happen, it could happen, it possibly will happen. So here we have the conditional tense. If he came tomorrow, it might happen. We could borrow his car. That's a suggestion. We have the possibility to borrow his car if he came tomorrow. So the conditional clause is in the past tense again. So the majority of the conditional clauses in the hypothetical situations are in the past simple. Okay, so if he came tomorrow, it's very strange because tomorrow is the future, but of course we're using the past tense. But this is hypothetical, and therefore we are making a suggestion of what might happen in the future. We could borrow his car. Okay, if, again, this is the conditional clause plus the principal clause. If we invited John in the past, Mary would bring Angela. That would happen. But it's a suggestion. If we invited John, it's to make a suggestion for the future. But we're using the past verbal tense. Okay, so we have a lot of information, and that's normal in the grammar lessons. We have a lot of rules, a lot of information, a lot of theory. It's very stressful, it's very difficult, but it is important to read. But I think speaking fluently is more important, and practicing your speaking is very important. And hopefully somebody can correct you with if they hear a mistake from you. That's a good way to improve as well. Okay, next lesson. After the subject, I, he, she, it, we can use were instead of was. And this is in the conditional clause. And this is very famous. If Jack was playing, that is the past. But it is possible to say if Jack were playing, that's hypothetical, they would probably win. Okay, so if Jack was playing, if Jack were playing, they would probably win. Next, we would go by train hypothetically if, this is the conditional clause, it wasn't so expensive, but it is possible to say if it were not so expensive, and that is maybe a more formal way or an alternative way to say it. Next, I would look after the children hypothetically. In theory, I would look after the children for you at the weekend if I was at home, the past simple, but because it's the conditional as well, we can say if I were. I, he, she, it. So that's an interesting lesson for sure. What's the difference? Maybe it's a touch more formal, maybe, but it's possible and it is common, but the two are possible. Next lesson, we have more information. We use the past perfect to talk about something which did not happen in the past. Okay, so this is the conditional clause. If you had seen him, that's the past perfect. You could have spoken to him. Hypothetically, you could have spoken to him. You had the possibility to speak to him if you had seen him. That's the past perfect, but it did not happen. You did not see him. So you did not see him, so you could not speak to him. Okay, tricky. Let's continue. You could have stayed with us, hypothetically. In theory, you could have stayed with us. It was an option, it was possible. That's the first clause. If you had come to London. This is the conditional clause, and the verbal tense is the past perfect, but this did not happen. Okay, so we use the past perfect for something that did not happen in the past. You could have stayed with us, hypothetically, that's the conditional. If, conditional clause, if you had come, past perfect, to London, this is the past perfect expressing the past and this did not happen because you did not come to London. Okay, again, the conditional clause. If we hadn't spent all our money, we could take a holiday. Hypothetically, in theory, we could take a holiday if we hadn't spent all our money. So this is the if clause, and the verbal tense is the past perfect. So we are expressing the past for something that did not happen because we did spend all our money. So we have no more money. But hypothetically, if we hadn't spent all our money, we could take a holiday. And this is This is an interesting perspective of the conditional, because normally in other grammar books you have the zero conditional, first conditional, second conditional, third conditional, but this is a more interesting perspective, I think, to understand how to use and construct the conditional. Next, we have the conditional clause plus the principal clause. If I had got the job, we would be living in Paris. So if I had got the job, this is the conditional clause in the past perfect to express something that did not happen. So I didn't get the job in the past, but hypothetically, if I had got the job, past perfect, in theory, hypothetically, we would be living in Paris. Okay. Next lesson. We have a lot of lessons, so it's difficult to remember, but I recommend that you try to review this yourself and try to read this yourself. If the main clause of a hypothetical conditional is about the present or the future, the main clause is about the present or the future, we can use the modal. For example, if I had got the job, this is the conditional clause. It's the past perfect because you are expressing something that did not happen. We might be living in Paris now because it's the present or the future, where the previous example is the past. Now it's more complicated. It's super complicated, but it's important. Okay, so it's the modal because it's the present or the future. So if I had got the job hypothetically in the past, plus the past perfect because it did not happen, now modal, we might be living in Paris. We may be living in Paris. We could be living in Paris now. Would be living in Paris would be the past, I think, according to the previous example. Okay, next. If you had done your homework, you would know the answer. So the first clause is the conditional clause, and it's the past perfect. If you had done your homework, past perfect, in the conditional clause, and this is expressing something that did not happen in the past. Hypothetically, you would know the answer because it's a modal. It's representing now or the future. So you would know the answer now if you had done your homework, and that's a conditional hypothetical situation with the past perfect because it did not happen, plus the modal in the main clause to represent the present. Next lesson, a new lesson. If the main clause is about the past, we use a modal with have. Wow, so always the conditional is super complicated for the rules, but try to keep an open, relaxed mind about using it in reality because sometimes it's less strict. So if the main clause is about the past, we use a modal with have. So if I had seen him, I would have spoken to him. This is the conditional clause. If I had seen him, that's the past perfect to represent something that did not happen. So I did not see him, but if I had seen him, hypothetically, I would have spoken to him. And therefore this is the modal because it's the past. What's the alternative? If I had seen him, I would speak to him in the future or the present. Now, if I had seen him, I would speak to him now. Would speak, modal, but would have spoken is the past. Okay, so a lot of different rules with the verbal tenses. Next, you could have stayed with us if you had come to London. So this is the conditional clause. If you had come to London, it's in the past perfect because it did not happen. You did not come to London in the past, so it's the past perfect in the conditional clause. But hypothetically, you could have stayed with us. And it's the modal because it's the past plus have, could have stayed with us. I think that's okay. Most people know how to create the modal in the past. Usually we add have plus the past participle. Okay, next. If you had invited me, I might have come. So two clauses. If you had invited me, I might have come. This is the conditional clause, and this is the main clause. So the conditional clause is in the past perfect because it did not happen in the past. So if you had invited me, so you basically, in reality, you did not invite her or him. Hypothetically, I might have come. It's a modal plus have in the past. So I might have come in the past, hypothetically, if you had invited me. The alternative, if you had invited me, I might come. Modal now, or the future. Okay, so I think you understand a little. Now we have the difficult task of the exercises. So let's try this first exercise. Match the expressions to make conditional sentences about the imaginary present or future. So match the expressions to make conditional sentences about the imaginary hypothetical present or future. So if you told me what was wrong, we would have to earn more. If we asked him, I would suggest going for a walk. We would give you a lift if it was just a bit cheaper. Okay, if the weather wasn't so bad, this is the conditional clause and it's the past. If the weather wasn't so bad, well, because of the context, I know the answer is I would suggest going for a walk. And thankfully, we have the context because grammatically, it's very stressful to think about this. We could buy that TV. This is the main clause. Hypothetically, we could buy that TV in present. Yes, because it's a modal. We could buy that TV now, hypothetically. Context. If this is the conditional clause, if it was just a little bit cheaper, that's the past. But we are expressing the present, I think. Okay, I think this is easier because of the contexts. So maybe I could help, that is hypothetically. Maybe I could help you, that's the modal verb to represent the present. Maybe I could help you now. If you told me what was wrong, past, I think, representing the present. If you told me what was wrong. Next, if we have a bigger car, hypothetically, this is the conditional clause. If we had, in the past, a bigger car, we would give you a lift. This is the modal in the, it's the modal and it's representing the present. We would give you a lift. The past, we would have given. So no, it's the modal representing the present. We would give you a lift now. Next, here we have the conditional clause. If we move to London in the past tense, I think representing maybe the future, we would have to earn more money. Modal representing the present or the future. Okay, and then finally, I'm sure your dad would help us. Hypothetically, I'm sure he would help us if we asked him in the past. And I think most are okay. Let's select finish. And we have 6 from 6. Okay, good. So I think we have another exercise here. Hypothetical conditionals in the past. So match the expressions to make conditional sentences about the imaginary hypothetical past. If I had known she was so ill, I'm sure we wouldn't have got a table. If he hadn't been driving so fast, if our flat hadn't been so expensive, we wouldn't be lost. I would have got you a present. If you hadn't made a reservation, this is the conditional clause and it's the past perfect, if you remember, to represent something that did not happen. So you did not make a reservation. If you hadn't made a reservation, context, I'm sure we would have got the table. Very difficult. But remember, try to be very clear with your communication. So don't worry too much about all the different tenses. Focus on communicating very clearly and simply first. So don't complicate the verbal tenses too much. Focus on communicating your message, always. The police said in the past he wouldn't have hit the lorry. Hypothetically, in the past modal, he wouldn't have hit The lorry is a truck. Hypothetically, he wouldn't have hit the lorry if he hadn't been driving so fast. That's the conditional clause, and it's the past perfect to represent the past. Okay, I think the police said he wouldn't have hit the lorry if he hadn't been driving so fast. Because of the context, I understand the answer, thankfully. I wouldn't have asked her to come into work hypothetically. That's the main clause. I wouldn't have asked her to come into work if I had known she was so ill. So if I had known she was very sick, I wouldn't have asked her. Conditional clause, if I had known it was your birthday. If I had known it was your birthday, past perfect. Therefore, it represents something that did not happen. Therefore, I did not know it was your birthday. I would have got you a present, of course. I would have found you a present. And finally, if you had remembered to bring the map, that is the conditional clause in the past perfect to represent something that did not happen in the past. If you had remembered to bring the map, we wouldn't be lost now. Okay, and then finally, we had a lot of more. We would have, hypothetically, we would have a lot more money nowadays. That's the main clause. If our flat hadn't been so expensive, that's the past perfect to express something that did not happen in the past. Therefore, it was so expensive. Okay, and I think everything is good. Let's check the answers. And that's 6 from 6. Good job. Okay, very good. So they are very interesting exercises. Exercise 2 and 2 are repetition, more or less just a type of revision. So that is the lesson for today. A lot of information. And the last topic was making hypotheses. And that is exactly when we use the conditional. And we have different tenses, different rules for using different tenses, the past perfect, the modals, the modal in the past, etc. That's level intermediate to advanced. And we also had talking about the future, hypothetically, or just the future, and time clauses, when, after, until, and if clauses, the hypothetical. Excellent. That's excellent work. That's good lesson today. Thank you for watching live. Thank you for watching recorded. Please, you can like this video or you can share this video with anybody interested. And thank you for your attention. If you want to support my lesson, if you are a company or a business or a school and you want to sponsor my lesson, you can advertise your school here or your business, and that's possible. If you want to collaborate or to support my project or to finance my project, that is possible. If you want to follow my other lessons, all these lessons are here and everything is free. It's public. It's my project at the moment since the pandemic, but you can support me if you wish to make a tip or a donation with the bank details or PayPal. All the information is on my top post in Facebook. And social media, you can contact me on Instagram, TikTok, YouTube, Pinterest, and WhatsApp as well if you wish to follow me on social media. Great. Thank you so much for your attention. Thank you for following this lesson. So little by little, I try to help you with grammar. That is my plan at the moment. That is all I can do in this location. Since the pandemic, of course, this is what I am doing. And I hope that you can follow me a little to stay active with your English. I hope you understand me with the subtitles, and I hope you can understand me speaking very quickly. Comments, questions, please put your question in the Facebook chat. And the next lesson is A través español, completely through Spanish, and I will start very soon. Thank you so much. Have a good day and hopefully talk to you soon. Bye-bye.